I call this meeting of Montgomery County School Board to order, 7 o'clock on December 5th, 2017. Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Right now, our student school board representatives, Stephen for Blacksburg High School and Josette for Christiansburg High School, will read our mission, vision, and core values.
We would like to welcome all of our guests to our school board meeting tonight. Here in Montgomery County Schools, our mission is that every student will graduate career and college ready and become a productive, responsible citizen. Our vision is to inspire learning by providing a nurturing environment, positive relationships, high expectations, and a continuous growth.
Here at Montgomery County Schools, our values for everyone include physical safety and emotional well-being, mutual trust and respect, open communication, accountability, engagement, and lifelong learning and cultural diversity. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Our next item is adoption of our agenda. May I have a motion to adopt our agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have an agenda. Next item will be our superintendent's announcements. Dr. Meyer.
Okay, thank you. First, I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving and was able to take some time off. And I know our folks and teachers and students appreciated it as well. Been a busy last couple of weeks, continuing to meet with the leadership teams at several schools. I've met with Auburn High School, East Montgomery High School, Margaret Beeks, Gilbert Lincoln's, and today I met with Charlottesville Middle School's leadership teams, and so they're going really well. Myself and a few of the others in the leadership team attended the VASCD conference in Williamsburg last week. It's the curriculum organization, curriculum development organization, and that went really well. Got to hear some really great speakers. A couple of them, Dylan Williams, talked about the bridging teaching and learning, which seems like it's something that should be automatic, but it isn't always automatic. Connecting those two things. Got to listen to Caleb Rashad. He's a principal at High Tech High. He's from San Diego. If you have not seen the documentary, Most Likely to Succeed, that's what it's about. And in fact, what we're going to do, we're going to show that documentary at some point next year to our teachers who would like to see it, and I'll invite you all to see it as well. But it's an innovative high school that's in San Diego. Totally project-based learning. All the courses are integrated. There are no grades at all that are given at this school. And you like that? Yeah. Okay. And, so no grades. It's all project-based, and yet students still get accepted to college, and they actually don't have grades. And it's a pretty amazing concept. And a couple of the students from the school were there to talk to us about that. Consuelo Kickbosh was there, who just talked about her life story growing up in poverty and then going to college. And she just talked about a teacher who inspired her and talked about how teachers should be dream makers and not gatekeepers. And she had so many teachers, unfortunately, that told her she couldn't do it. She couldn't go to college. She wasn't smart enough. But she had one teacher that told her she could and she should, and she did. And ended up going to college, becoming an officer in the Army. And she was one of the highest ranking officers in the United States Army at one time. And just an amazing lady. So anyway, just a wonderful conference. Tomorrow is our first committee meeting for the Social and Cultural Action Committee, tomorrow afternoon at 4:30. This committee, what we've done is we've added some community liaisons to this committee. You know, because we get numerous requests from certain groups. So we've added a rep from each one of these groups. Let's see, the Dialogue on Race, the Virginia Organizing, the Christiansburg Alumni Association, Christiansburg Christiansburg Institute Alumni Association, Christiansburg Institute, Inc., the NAACP, and the NAACP from Virginia Tech as well are all sending reps to that committee meeting to continue to discuss how we can continue to move forward with our diversity initiative. So that's it for now. I know our folks are counting down. We have about 2 weeks left before we get out for our winter break.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next item will be our honors, awards, and recognitions. Dr. Meyer.
Okay. This time, Dr. Staten, if you would come up to the podium to assist with these honors and recognitions.
So good evening. It's now time to start our honors, awards, and recognitions for this evening. So we'll begin with Mr. Carl Parley to come up as a Director of Secondary Education to recognize the Seniors of the Month for the months of November and December 2017.
Thank you, Dr. Staten, members of the board, Madam Chair, Dr. Meyer. A very special highlight of our board meeting is the recognition of a Senior of the Month from each of our 4 high schools. Photos and leadership profiles are displayed on the presentation board in the lobby. Our presentation format provides a snapshot of each senior and a quote from their administrator or teacher who nominated them for this recognition. With us this evening to present are Principal Chris Stewart from Auburn High School, Principal Brian Kitts of Blacksburg High School, Principal Tony Deibler of Christiansburg High School, and Assistant Principal Matt McDaniel from Eastern Montgomery High School. We'll start off with Mr. Stewart. They'll each read their profiles and present their November and December Seniors of the Month, and each will follow in kind. Thank you. Mr. Stewart.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Staten, Dr. Meyer. It's my honor and privilege to present to you tonight our November, Auburn High School's November Senior of the Month. Our December Senior of the Month couldn't make it this evening. I'd like for Lexi Gilley to come on up. She is our November Senior of the Month. She is here with her family, including her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Gilley. Come on up. I'd like to read a brief quote from one of the teachers that nominated Lexi. Alexis Gilley is a diligent student who is a natural leader to her peers. She is dedicated and produces her best work on every task she is given. Lexi is insightful, inquisitive, and analytical, and as an AP student, she sets and achieves her goals beyond what is required in the classroom. We are all better teachers for having taught her, and we are better people for having known her. Lexi Gilley. Thank you.
Blacksburg High School is proud to present our November Senior of the Month, Simone Josephine Gwinnett. Simone is accompanied this evening by Mom, Jill Seibel. Would you all please come forward and be recognized? Simone is not only an excellent student who brings integrity and enthusiasm to her academic pursuits, but also an influential member of the Bruin community. In the classroom, Simone goes out of her way to help her classmates with difficult material and tackles laboratory exercises and discussion activities with spirit. She has dedicated herself as well to extracurricular research, winning her category at the Highland Science Fair and representing BHS at the highest levels of the state. She is a dedicated athlete and is committed to the SCA. She would never tell you herself, but our community is stronger and more valuable because she is a part of it. Congratulations. I'm also proud to present our December Senior of the Month, Charles C. Lee Vaden Woodyard, who is accompanied by Grandma Linda Vaden and her art teacher who wrote this, Miss Hypes. Would you all please come forward? Charles C. goes above and beyond daily. She is not only an exceptional Art 3 student, but also an advanced placement studio art student as well. And she is a studio assistant for 2 separate blocks. She loves art. She helps other students reach their full potential as well as the instructor. Later this year, she will try her hand at teaching to our lower level art classes based on her advanced placement study focus. We are very proud of Charles C. Congratulations.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to announce to the school board that the November Senior of the Month for Christiansburg High School is Josette Gravely. I would like to ask Josette and her family to come forward to be recognized. And of course, Josette is a senior rep on the school board. Here's what teachers and administrators have to say about Josette. Josette is an amazing leader among her peers. She's driven, open, honest, welcoming, and motivated. Josette is one of the sweetest, most compassionate students I have ever met. She is always smiling and making everyone she meets feel welcome. She is hardworking and loves to challenge both herself and others. Josette has been instrumental in turning the 9th grade mentor program from a faculty-driven initiative into a student-led organization. Her ability to consider others and think big picture just adds to the total package that is Josette Gravely. She is smart, confident, and just fun to be around. Josette will change the world. Congratulations, Josette Gravely. I'm also proud to announce to the school board that the December Senior of the Month for Christiansburg High School is Taylor Hill. I would like to ask Taylor and her family to come forward to be recognized. She has more fans out there, though. Here's what teachers say about Taylor. Taylor is a go-getter who doesn't wait for someone to tell her what to do, but instead she seeks out the possible ways to get things accomplished. She is a leader who is always encouraging her peers. She exemplifies optimism and hard work. Every day she is a positive light in the classroom regardless of events and circumstances, and she always seeks to uplift and care for others. Additionally, if you've seen CHS theatrical performances or listened to music by our wonderful chamber ensemble over the past few years, you've probably had the pleasure of experiencing some of Taylor's abundant talent. Congratulations, Taylor Hill.
Good evening, Dr. Meyer, members of the board. Tonight I'd like to introduce to you William Henry Rakes, our November Senior of the Month. So if you will come forward. He is escorted by his parents, Billy and Hope Rakes. EMHS Spanish teacher Nancy Gibson had this to say about our Senior of the Month. Will is a hardworking and always strives to do his best. He tends to be quiet, but does not hesitate to speak up and express his opinions when he thinks something is unfair. He has a strong work ethic, which is demonstrated by his participation in cross-country, track, and basketball, along with his job outside of school. He is a dedicated leader at EMHS. We appreciate you. For our December Student of the Month, I would like to introduce to you, Kara Lynn Smith. She is with her parents, Kimberly Smith, EMHS math teacher and academic coach Eric Tatum had this to say about our Senior of the Month. If all students were like Kara Smith, you wouldn't have to pay teachers to do their job. She is always helpful, honest, and kind. I've watched Kara represent EMHS very well in Scholastic Bowl, Forensics, and MAC. And everyone has had a better time when she is around. She makes everyone laugh, even if it is at her own expense sometimes. I'm just glad to see her every day at EMHS. Congratulations.
Okay, Dr. Graham, Deputy Superintendent, will now come forward to recognize Falling Branch Elementary for receiving the Board of Education Distinguished Achievement Award.
If Ms. Vanetta Stein and Don Saya would come forward. The Virginia Department of Education recently listed another group of schools to be recognized for the Virginia Index of Performance Awards. This award recognizes schools that have met all state and federal benchmarks while making progress toward the goals of the governor and the board. We are very pleased to have Ms. Vanetta Stein and Mr. Saya accept this award on behalf of Falling Branch Elementary, and we congratulate the school on earning the Distinguished Achievement Award, and also on the building and construction that's going on at your school.
Survivors.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our awards and recognitions. We will now take a 10-minute break so that Dr. Meyer and the board members can congratulate tonight's honorees.
Regularly scheduled meeting, the school board sets aside 30 minutes for citizens to address the board pertaining to public education in Montgomery County. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to speak, and the screens throughout the room and on the laptop will indicate when the speaker has 30 seconds remaining and when the 3 minutes has passed. I do not have any individuals sign up to speak at this time. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board in the audience? Hearing and seeing none, our public address is closed. Next item will be our approving our consent agenda. If there is nothing pulled, we will consider the consent items approved. Any questions regarding the consent items? There are 2 grant proposals. Any questions regarding those? We're good. Then our consent items approved as they are. Next item is paying our bills. May I have a motion to pay our bills?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye. Oh, well, any discussions first? Just in case. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We pay our bills. Next item is the acknowledging the receipt of our financial summary report. May I have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any discussions regarding the financial summary report? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We approve our reports. Next item, we entering our business meeting, and that will be board member reports. Board members, would you like to share any
Maybe,
experience? Can go either way.
I'm going to jump in ahead of all you
Sure.
people who went to VSBA. So I did. I attended the Southwest Virginia Governor's School board meeting last month, and just wanted to report back on some of the highlights from that board. One fun item of good news: the team there got a top 10 in the state in the math league contest, and apparently that math league contest has been improving in attendance statewide. February 1st, they're having the Southwest Virginia Governor's School Science Fair, and let's see, we talked a little bit about funding. They're on a biannual budget, and they expect that their funding is going to go down in the next cycle by about $50 per student per course. But some of at least that's what's been proposed. I think some of this is still fluid, so I will keep you posted on on what happens in there's going to be a new governor and legislature come January, so that this may change. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. And then lastly, outreach for the Southwest Virginia Governor's School. I guess they do a math kangaroo contest every March for 1st through 12th grade. And one thing I wanted to point out, they do these spring afternoon visit. They host for whatever grade is interested. It is tailored for students, so an elementary teacher can bring her class or his class to the governor's school, and they'll kind of host them for these activities. So they were encouraging the elementary teachers to take advantage of that. So I don't know. I see Ms. Wickham here, so hopefully you can pass that on and let me know if you need any other information. So that's
Thank
it.
you. Sounds good. Who else wants to jump?
I can go next.
Okay.
So first, I'd like to say how great it was to have our student school board reps join us for the annual school board conference in November. We enjoyed getting special time with them that we normally don't get during our school board meetings. So we got to know them and talk to them and listen to lots of giggles. So it's great to have them along. I went to the presentation that Mr. Weaver and our BHS student Hunter Radford gave on the building capacity for work-based learning experiences. There was a great turnout in that presentation, and the people afterwards had lots of great questions, and almost every one of them came up to personally congratulate Hunter for his part of the presentation, which is always awesome to see. And then Ms. Karan and I attended a lunch and learn session on providing effective interventions to promote academic success for students with mental illnesses. And that was really great to sit through. I think that was one of honestly, my favorite sessions. Just because I learned so much. It's not something I'm as knowledgeable about, and I learned a lot. But it was also confirmation that we are already have a lot of beneficial interventions in place in MCPS. But it was also important to see what other districts are doing, like Roanoke County and Roanoke City. The other one, of course, I'm the representative for the legislative delegation, so that was a several-hour assembly meeting to go over education issues that are being lobbied for, and issues or bills that could potentially come before the 2018 General Assembly that we need to educate our delegates about, because they would probably harm public education instead of benefit them. So it was a great conference. It's always great to hear and see what other counties are doing, and continually get confirmation of the great things that we are doing here in Montgomery County.
Thank you. Ms.
Let me just
Baum?
go next?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was
You
just
next.
saying earlier, I said, I don't know if I'm ready for this Williamsburg report thing. But anyway, I've got it. When I go to a conference, I always get drawn towards CTE. And the last couple times I thought, nobody's really, they might be doing different, but I don't think any of them's doing any better than what we're doing. But I still get drawn to it, and I get sucked back in every time. And so we had keynote speakers, as you shared, that were great each day. And I chose not to go to ours because the second day was what Dr. Daggett, was that his name? Droggett? Maybe Droggett was his name. So he was having a session right after that, and I did attend his. And however, I have to say, although he had great, and his whole point I took from his address was the fact that we're moving away from an industrial state to a completely, Apple, Facebook, and all the headings of those type businesses are what's on the rise. And I do agree with all of that. But he also shared with us that I didn't agree with. We're pushing kids in CTE in a different, wrong direction because we're going to have machines building houses. And, and no disrespect, because he seemed like a very hugely intelligent person, but I yet to have seen any machine out on a job site
building a house. And I know they do it in construction sites, prefab homes and things like that, but I think we're a long way from that. That's just the way I take from me. And, you know, I think if we're not careful and if we go that route, and I'm not trying to get on a bandwagon here, but it's kind of like how we push students to college, and now everybody's college and there's no CTE. And I think if you're not careful, you can push all to this route and there's not going to be any industrial. And so, you know, hearing what he said and agreeing to a point, but I still see, but I live the CTE life every day. So I went to another CTE, and that's what they were more or less kind of talking about was, you know, how, but then again, it was, let's take the career and technical education path and join it with college, which I see and understand, but I still think there's just going to be some students that don't do either. And from what I saw, it's still that have to take college or have to take career and technical education. And I don't understand, maybe in our society, as bright as our folks are in all our divisions, why kids as bright as they are have to make a decision on one or the other. You know, but that's just me, like I said, living it every day. I do get a real huge, very huge reality take on career and technical education. But, so then on the, so when I see these things, I'm like, oh, right. But the last one that I took and I was really excited about, it was called Branding Your School. And I went into that session because I do feel like sometimes we're guilty of branding our schools. And I think all 4 of our schools are branded. And sometimes, and everything the person was speaking about, we already were doing, which is, I think, a huge attribute to Brenda because she's so on top of things. And, you know, the kind of like they were saying, you know, how Disney's learned how to do selling the point, keep it 3 words, and we have, and on our, just the logos and things like that. But one of the things that did concern me, having 4 high schools in our district, and even though they're completely different, I do think sometimes we brand them. And that's one of the issues I think we have dealt with some of the transfer policies coming in, because certain schools have been branded over certain issues. And although some brandings are good, that is one of my issues with a couple of our schools in our district that have gotten brandings that I don't think are fair. So, you know, those are some of the things. That's one of the reasons why I took it. And I don't know that they shared a way not to do that. They just shared how you can do it if you want to brand your school and be in a, you know, like a great school, how you can. But they did make a great point about saying that teachers are basically who brand your schools on the frozen product aisle in the grocery store. And I can see that. And they were saying that's where you get your branding from, is your leaders in the grocery store talking to parents, and that's how it starts. And I do agree with that 100%. So I think what they were just trying to say is, you know, as a whole, as a group, let's all try to put the best out there, put the most positive out there, even if you don't agree with it 100%. Don't nitpick it to death. You know, if you're aggravated and angry at the system, still paint a good picture. And that's what I took from it. So, and I do agree with that. But.
Thank you.
Okay, so at VSBA, I actually had the honor of serving as the moderator for our session on project-based learning. So I got to introduce Mr. Weaver and Hunter and our subject matter, which I'd already just worked with them recently in our Partners in Education breakfast, so it was wonderful to see that presentation, and as they indicated, it was very well received, so that was exciting to see. I went to another session about growing your own teachers, and this was given by Buena Vista Schools, which they are the 2nd lowest paying school system as far as teachers in the state. So they obviously struggle when hiring teachers. And one thing we do have in common with them, though, is that they're sort of surrounded by areas, divisions that pay better than they do. And we're actually in that situation as well. So, you know, and trying to recruit teachers and not have them taken by the counties around you, it can be a challenge. So I had some good ideas there and love to sit down and talk to staff about that. I also attended the Title IX law update session given by our attorney, Sands Anderson, and they were mainly focusing on the issues that are in the forefront right now, which in particular is sexual harassment and how schools have to deal with that. And then the other one, of course, is transgender issues. But in particular, they were very focused on sexual harassment with everything that's going on, you know, in the media especially. As far as general sessions, I thought the one that Manny Scott did, he was one of the Freedom Writers, was just phenomenal. I think that was the best general session we saw. And then, of course, the other thing I've been working on is the Montgomery County Educational Foundation Grant Award Ceremony. It's coming up on December 19th. And just for anyone who hasn't RSVP'd, Friday's the deadline. So love to have everyone there. Free meal, free food, always gets people there. But we're excited. And we've actually pulled in additional funds since we started this. So we're looking at granting about $36,000 that day. So for those of you who have been invited and are able to attend, we look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you. Well, it's my time to wrap it up, I suppose. I have few thank yous. One thank you is the Christiansburg Middle School students for the beautiful wooden iPad holders. I don't think I thanked before, but I'm using at home. It's my charging dock right now. The other one is Auburn High School for hosting us at our last meeting. And also like to congratulate the wonderful time play at Blacksburg High School. Carrie Mayer, the theater teacher, and the cast, and the set was incredible. It was a giant dollhouse that you can go from room to room and climb up and down, and it was unbelievable. And they have another fine arts showcase coming up December 13 at 7:30, and it is at Moss Center. So I think it's going to be spectacular as well. So if you have time, please attend. I attended a Radford University conference on November 11th, done with the Virginia chapter of National Association of Multicultural Education. It's on understanding and responding to poverty, and a keynote address by Paul Gorsicki, and that's the erasing the opportunity gap for students experiencing poverty. So I thought it's an interesting to call opportunity gap. We are used to hearing the achievement gap, but you know, it really made sense. And you know, the simple examples that he gave, you know, how we judge, you know, people from we are quick to judge if they're wearing a Nike shoe. We may assume that they're not poor because they're wearing Nike shoe, but that doesn't mean that that's the case. It might be borrowed, it might be secondhand, it's a gift, or you know, I mean, there could be many reasons. So it is just interesting to not to come to a quick judgment about individuals' background. And another example was telling a coal miner family, or a student coming from a coal miner family, saying that if you work hard, you can achieve. You know, interesting to say that to a coal miner. I mean, can you imagine any harder work than working in a coal mine? And so you have to be careful how to, you know, phrase, you know, your judgmental sentences, I guess. And then I attended a couple sessions at Radford. One was Poverty Effect on Classroom and Unearned Advantages. One of the examples was, if you say if somebody has a great smile, you know, what is in the background of great smile? They have a great smile maybe because they have a good dentist service that they are, you know, having through. That's why they have a great smile. So we don't see those things when we make our judgments about individuals. And another session was about restorative justice education and alternative education, and then racial disparity in discipline data and the implicit biases. It was a pretty good conference. And of course, I was at VSBA, and many sessions that everybody shared. I was attended to. I think one of them that is different was called "If you are not at the table, you are on the menu," and that was the how to use data to promote proactive school counseling, and how much time our counselors spend on mundane tasks instead of part of the team to, to work for the students' future, whether it's in behavioral achievement or mental. The interesting data was shared, and we have already limited number of student counselors or the school counselors we have, and how much time they work for test taking or classroom scheduling, whether that's what they have to be doing or not. That was a discussion. And the last one I attended with Ms. Franklin, and Mr. Dave Dickinson shared MCPS data with the audience. Was Virginia Tech Conference on Advancing the Human Condition Symposium. That was interesting. That was a little bit all over the place. Obviously, a 3-day conference, and there was a lot of different sessions, and I only attended 2 afternoon sessions and the one that we were on the panel. One of them was learning experiences for empowerment, resilience, and engagement, and that was pretty much they were sharing what VT Engage does, but they are changing their, I guess, mentality in terms of the service projects. The students used to find those service projects, whatever they need, they want to do, or whatever their professor wants them to study. But right now, they want to look at what the community needs, and then, put the students there where the community's needs are. So their vision is, I think, changing. And the other one was how our technology advancing the human condition, or whether it is advancing it or not. So the interesting one is that there was an algorithm, I think, that they developed, which, as a 6th grader, you are Googling a topic, you typed it, and so much information came out. You really don't know which one is needed, which one is junk, which one is Wikipedia. Their algorithm is sifting all those and giving the student just the one that, or 1 or 2 that is, important that they have to do their research on. So that was interesting. And of course, we share what we are doing in MCPS regarding our inclusion and diversity, and it was very nice to, there was a big audience and good questions, and it was nice to share with the community what we're doing best at MCPS. So. Finally, I think I'd like to thank the board and Dr. Meyer and the staff for a great year, since this is the last meeting of this year, and point out a few highlights. We have student and school presentation each our meetings. I think they are the exciting part of our meetings, besides, of course, the recognizing our Senior of the Month also. And then, of course, addition our student board representative was a big highlight of the year. Work-based learning and the related presentation that we did at VSBA annual conference was great. And then all the administration participation of Dialogue on Race Summer Picnic was also wonderful to be part of the community. And of course, the diversity addition to our core values, and also the diversity hiring efforts. So thank you to HR department for that. So wishing everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and great 2018. So that's the wrap. Now our next item is to listen our student representative reports. So
You got it.
podium is yours. Stephen first.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Stephen Yang, and I'm from Blacksburg High School. And these are some cool school highlights. So first off, in the past few months, we've been creating Thanksgiving baskets for families in need, and so they can have like Thanksgiving dinner. And we made almost 700, which is a pretty good number because we've increased that by like 200 this year, so that's pretty good. And my Thanksgiving was pretty good too. So, and now to athletics. Our school moved up a division to 4A from 3A, and in our fall sports season, we went 4-5, winning region championship. And the one that didn't win was region runner-up, and they lost by 1 point to Salem, and that was football. And for winter sports, it's coming underway right now, and the boys basketball team are playing in our home opener tonight, so that's pretty cool. And yesterday, this girls swim team won their tournament, which is nice. And in the spring, we're adding a new sport, lacrosse, to our school, and yeah, that's pretty nice. And so this is our 5th year anniversary for our school being built, and so we are celebrating it by having Year of the Artist. So we're celebrating with a big showcase at the Moss Art Center next Wednesday on December 13th. And the gallery's open at 6 p.m. and at 7:30, then there will be the choir, band, and theater on the main stage. And as Miss Kieran said, we had It's a Wonderful Life theater production, and I thought it was amazing. And I realized that I have wonderful life until I realized I have midterms next week. And, so yeah, it starts next Thursday. And on the 19th, as Ms. Froggatt said, we have the Montgomery County grant reception, and we're hosting at Blacksburg Country Club. And our school is very fortunate to receive many grants in the past, so we look forward to seeing some of you there. And about a month ago, the school reps went on a trip to Williamsburg to the VSBA conference, and I learned a lot about leadership and how much it means to make a difference in your school community. And I got a nice fidget spinner, and it was pretty cool. And, yeah, that's all I got. But wish us luck on our midterms.
They didn't give those to us.
You didn't go to all the booths then, but
Yeah,
you
Maria
got all
did.
kinds of stuff. If
Maria
you had went
did.
to all the booths, let me tell you.
Maria did. She stuck
Yeah,
up.
you can get cool stuff.
Right. Hi, my name is Maria Pisano. I go to Eastern Montgomery, and my school report is we had an event during football season. Our SGA hosted what we call a Mustang Nation. It was on our senior night, and it was our last home game. And there was a bunch of games and a bunch of food, and it was really fun. Everyone had a great time. And then we also started our penny roll fundraiser this week, which we look forward to raising up $1,000 for our people in need in our school and help them out during the holidays. And we also have our winter concert tonight, which was tonight. And many students have been working very hard and looking forward to this concert. Also, on our VSBA field trip that we had in November, it was very exciting and we learned a lot. We also spent time, the 4 of us student representatives, learning more about each other. And we also learned how it is to be a student representative and learn more about the school board and policies. And we had great speakers, and they taught us a lot of how everything works on the school board, about policies, basically, and just encouragement, and to be strong leaders and to make a better future for ourselves. Yeah.
Any questions to our student reps?
I'd like to add, one thing to something I was reminded of, Stephen. It's absolutely amazing to me the amount of giving our schools have done over the past few weeks. You see over 700 baskets from Blacksburg High School. Christiansburg High School I saw theirs. It looked like 700 baskets ready to be distributed to families in the community. I got an email this week from the Christmas store Montgomery County Public Schools donated approximately 6,350 food items and over, let's see, it was 2,500 other items such as clothing, toys, toiletries, and in addition, several boxes of books. So it's absolutely amazing what our students and our faculties and principals have done to help our community. And you know, a lot of these items would actually go back to our students and their families, and we really appreciate that. So it's pretty awesome place. It really is. So thank you.
I hope that makes it to the newspaper too. I see him back there. I just think people in the community need to know that.
In fact,
They need to know
In fact, Mr. Drake,
all the work.
We'll send that to the Roanoke Times actually to get that all those details of everything that our folks have done. But it's just so neat, and there's so many. I mean, every school did something, I think, for the Christmas store this year. It was just, and I don't know. I know Auburn Elementary, they were doing mittens. Blacksburg High School. How many bikes did y'all collect? Do you know, Mr. Kitts?
Just under 20.
Huh?
Almost 20.
About 20 bicycles, you know, from Blacksburg High School were donated to the Christmas store. I mean, just several things like that. It's just absolutely incredible. So.
That's pretty cool. Thank you. I think next item will be grant proposal.
Okay. First grant proposal is improving students' executive functioning skills. Rapp University, in partnership with MCPS, has requested funding to offer individual coaching sessions for up to 50 Christiansburg High School students. The coaching sessions will help students improve their goal setting, organization, and time management skills. This grant is brought to you tonight for your approval.
May I have a motion to approve the grant proposal as presented?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any discussions or any questions regarding that grant? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We approve our grant.
Okay, and next, I'm excited to ask Dr. Graham to come up to share with you an update on our 6-year plan. And I'm really excited for the ending of the presentation. Right, Mr. A?
Uh-oh.
It is, I can't wait to show you. This is incredible. But anyway, go ahead.
So, as Dr. Meyer said, we're excited to present tonight. And as you see, most of the team members from the 6-year plan are here with us for the presentation. As you already know, the plan begins with our vision and our motto. And these were developed in conjunction with our advanced ed process with input from multiple stakeholders. We are now in the 4th year of the plan. The plan revolves around the model for effective instruction, and the motto, engage, encourage, empower, which you helped make, describes the heart of our work. Through our work with engagement, we believe students are empowered to learn and to succeed in their future endeavors. As you see on this slide, this year we added the 5 C's around the instructional model to show the connection between the 5 C's and the model itself. And as you will recall, this year the board expressed their belief in the importance of recognizing and supporting diversity by adding cultural diversity to the core values. All schools have been asked to post the mission, vision, and core values that you see before you. And student representatives now read the mission and vision and values at each board meeting, and you did an excellent job, by the way. And they actively participate in the board meetings. Wanted to point out to you again that the plan is divided into 3 overarching areas. First, student achievement, then leadership and operations, and the third is safety and wellness. Each school then develops a plan which supports the division plan. As we see, many changes are continuing in education. Our plan is flexible to allow for the innovation and progress that we want in Montgomery County. This year, we decided to share a brief update which will focus on 3 key points in each area. And then we will close with a video that speaks to the quality and progressiveness of our schools.
Our first student achievement goal is that students will graduate college and career ready. One of our greatest accomplishments has been our success with increasing work-based learning experiences for our students. This year, business and marketing teachers are serving as work-based learning coordinators to facilitate student work placements, support or coach students, and communicate with workplace mentors and employers. Through their efforts, we have increased from 20 to almost 300 work-based learning placements, including internships, cooperative employment, mentoring, job shadowing, and clinical experiences. In addition to serving as interns and participating in cooperative employment with various local businesses, many of our students have been placed in work-based learning experiences within the school system. Such placements include student employees working in buildings and grounds, as you can see in the photograph there. We have two of our buildings and grounds students working, also working in food services and as custodians. We also have student interns working at the bus garage as diesel mechanics, which are also pictured there in the slide, and interning with high school athletic directors, school librarian, technology staff, classroom teachers, and in public relations. Dr. Meyer and Mr. Weaver continue to reach out to the community by speaking to a variety of civic and business organizations, including the Rotary, Lions Club, and Chamber of Commerce, about our work-based learning efforts and how their businesses can benefit from hosting student interns. Last spring, a work-ready seal was developed in collaboration with the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, and it's one of the two seals that are pictured up there. It's the one on the top. This diploma seal is unique to Montgomery County Schools. By the end of the 2016-17 school year, the implementation of career cruising was completed at all of our middle schools. This year, all current 9th graders have started high school with individualized academic and career plans in their files, which will be used to guide each student's program of studies with an emphasis on course-to-career connections, as I presented to you last time. The MCPS Governor's STEM Academy is one of only 22 such academies in the Commonwealth. The class of 2016 was the first group eligible to earn the STEM seal on their diplomas, and it is the second one that is pictured on the slide. The number of MCPS graduates who earned the STEM seal has increased from 14 in 2016 to 27 in 2017.
Our second student achievement goal is about ensuring that the MCPS model for effective instruction impacts every student in every classroom, so that they are always receiving the highest quality instruction. To reach this goal, we continue to focus our professional learning efforts on increasing student engagement to increase student achievement. Our middle schools participated in Look to Learning Walks with John Antonetti, while our elementary schools participated in a Learning Walk book study to prepare for this year. We also continued our work to increase effective co-teaching by inviting Lisa Deeker, who is well known for her expertise in best practices for inclusion and co-teaching, to work with teams of our general and special education teachers as we increase the number of classrooms utilizing co-teaching within our schools. And finally, we're proud that our one-to-one initiative has allowed our teachers to enhance instruction and communication through the use of our Google platform, through Google Classroom and Google Calendar in grades 5 through 12.
Our third student achievement goal focuses on ensuring that all students continue to make progress academically. We have implemented tiered supports, as you saw in the presentation on February 21st, 2017. Our student achievement continues on a strong path with 18 of 19 schools fully accredited, as you saw in the presentation earlier this year on September 5th. Inasmuch, Montgomery County Public Schools was one of 15 divisions who earned the 2017 Board of Education Distinguished Achievement Award. We've implemented annual curriculum development teams to design one tool that consolidates pacing timelines and possible supplemental resources, ensuring essential knowledge, skills, and content are addressed in every subject and level.
The six-year plan measures student academic progress with division-wide milestones. Earlier this year, we shared in-depth state accreditation and federal accountability data that reflected our continued growth as a division. We are pleased that we consistently exceed the state's pass rate on the reading and mathematics SOL in grades 3, 5, 8, and end of course. As Mr. Pauly said, we are preparing our students to be career and college ready, as evidenced by our data. Over the last 2 years, Montgomery County's on-time graduation rate exceeded the state's on-time graduation rate. Montgomery County's 2017 rate was 93%. and 55% of this cohort earned an advanced studies diploma. 75% of our students who took an AP exam earned a 3 or higher. 93% of last year's graduates earned a CTE credential, which the students need in order to earn a standard diploma. And this year, already over 80% of our 2018 graduates have earned a CTE credential. Montgomery County continues to increase the percentage of seniors taking the SAT exam, as well as increase the percentage of students with disabilities who transition either into post-secondary education or into competitive employment. Montgomery County clearly met our milestone of student use of instructional technology through our one-to-one initiative.
Our next goal is related to maintaining and enhancing effective leadership, operations, and communication practices. As you will recall, Dr. Meyer used his superintendent surveys, school visits, and advisory teams to gather stakeholder information. Not only did this allow a way to gather information, it also led to transparency and clear responsiveness. For example, choice professional development, in conjunction with keeping the focus on engagement, was a direct result of stakeholder input. Last year, we focused on open budget conversations, more visibility in schools, and the use of Twitter and social media to increase stakeholder awareness. Construction on the Falling Branch Elementary School project addition has been started, and we expect one section to be completed over the holiday. Planning is underway for a new elementary school and for additions and renovations to CHS and for updated athletic fields. The initiative for a diverse staff is being realized. Currently, we have increased diverse staffing through a targeted focus on recruiting coupled with community partnerships. The video, which you saw earlier this year, is available on this presentation. In addition, all principals and several administrators attended the dialogue on race, which provided an opportunity to enhance communication between stakeholders and the MCPS administration through meaningful dialogue. The goals in this portion of the 6-year plan are critical in helping to provide a high-quality education for our students and support for our staff. These significant accomplishments are reflective of the hard work that the school division continues through its leadership, operations, and communication.
As a reminder, you see here the goal addressing the areas of safety and wellness. This year, the district has seen many accomplishments in these areas, and we'd like to highlight a few of them here. We are in our 3rd year of VTSS implementation and have been awarded the VTSS Trailblazer Award, as well as the Award for Distinction in Implementation of Social, Emotional Wellness Systems and Supports. All of our schools have been trained to use the PBIS framework and are at varying levels of implementation. We continue to offer the Youth Mental Health First Aid training for staff, with 181 staff and community members trained in the 2016-17 school year. The Youth Risk Behavior Survey was administered in 2015 and 2017, and comparison data has been presented to the school board. Survey results have been shared with school administrators, and a community forum is being planned to share the results and discuss next steps. We continue to partner with New River Valley Community Service to provide Project Alert, an evidence-based drug prevention program in our middle school health and PE classes. We provided suicide prevention trainings in all high schools using the Jason Foundation curriculum in the 2016-17 school year. The new profile of a Virginia graduate incorporates the 5 C's of critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration, and citizenship as essential skills and attributes that students need to be successful. And these 5 C's form the cornerstone for the MCPS model for effective instruction, and they're a natural vehicle for promoting cultural citizenship and diversity and preparing our students for 21st century careers and life. And last, COPSYNC, A crisis response system that links law enforcement with our schools is in place, and we are in the early stages of implementation of the system.
So, at the last board retreat, you expressed a desire to increase the marketing of MCPS. And as you can see from all the presentation, I think we've done a tremendous job over the last years. But with your desire in mind, our team felt like this was the perfect time to combine our efforts to the efforts of the 6-year team to assist with the marketing and recruiting initiatives. We talked about what to do and wanted to do a video. Brenda Drake found a marketing video which we used to inspire our work. We believe that this video can be used in recruiting and marketing efforts to showcase that MCPS is a strong, progressive, and innovative school system. I could ask that the 6-year team and Ms. Drake would stand, please. Just want to say thank you to all of you for your hard work on the presentation. Thank you very much, and for the work this year.
Thank you.
I also wanted to say thank you to the board for sharing your vision and for your leadership in ensuring that MCPS is an amazing school system. And we are available for questions if you have any.
Love the video.
This is
That's
so
fabulous.
cool.
That is good.
I could be hired if I watch this.
That's fabulous.
Or I'd like to attend the school all over again.
And when we send the update tomorrow to the entire school division,
That video will be
that video will be
attached.
on that little
Yeah.
link. Did you send Ms. Drake?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I hear
that's-
you saying yes.
Yes.
We talked about a launch party.
Okay.
It is.
Oh, we're having a
it
launch
is.
party?
We talked about one.
Oh.
Dr. Graham and I thought maybe wait until January, they have a budget, and then.
All right, we'll talk about it. So awesome.
It is so
It is
awesome.
And
really
thanks to all of our schools, and you know, I saw different schools and
Yeah,
faculties
different schools,
participating in it,
different,
and thanks for helping get that together too. So good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that needs to be like a have to watch, not a choice. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's fabulous. That's great.
It is fabulous indeed.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay,
that's
next,
wonderful.
2018 legislative positions. The legislative positions are used by the board each year as you lobby members of the state legislature for educational needs. The positions are brought to you tonight for your approval.
May I have a motion to approve the 2018 legislative positions as presented?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any discussions regarding any of the positions are gathered here?
So I went through this list, and as I was going through it, I would come up with like, oh, we need to, this needs to be on it, and then I'd look down a little further, and there it was, and there it was, and there it was. I thought it was a really comprehensive list, and I honestly could not come up with anything else. It seemed to capture everything that we've been talking about throughout the year. Maybe somebody else found something, but I didn't.
It is a combination of from, I think, VSBA priorities plus superintendent, which is Superintendent Vast priorities, and our priorities, it's just a combination of them, I think covers everything. Yeah.
And basically, to let you know, I know VAST, which is our Superintendent Association, works with VSBA and sort of, and they also, not just, they work with the VEA. There are several groups that sort of come together to talk about the priorities and what we should push. The ASCD, VASCD is another organization. They named about 5 or 6 educational organizations in the state to get together in terms of when creating these priorities. And so yeah, this is why they're so
comprehensive and
yeah. And it's a good tool or a good document to have in our hands when we go visit legislators end of January.
Can I ask a question? As I go through a lot of these things have been on this list for years, and they don't get legislated, they don't get enacted.
That's why they're still on there.
Now they're still on there.
Is there an easy way that we feedback to our, to the public or to our legislators how they're doing on some of this stuff? Can we grade them on these? Can we give them a report card on that? I mean, because nobody's going to read through all of this stuff, but when I look at some of this stuff.
Well, one of the challenges we have is that in this region, which Connie, correct me if I'm wrong, includes Giles, Radford, Roanoke, Montgomery County, we don't have a representative on the Education Committee. And I think if we in Southwest Virginia had a representative on the Education Committee, it's possible that some bills would be put into place for voting that would accomplish some of these things. But we really don't have, per se, a voice in the Education Committee.
And I think one of the region's superintendents, not ours, but the Whitfield, and I think that area superintendents realize that too. Southwest Virginia not being represented basically at the General Assembly. They are coming together to work, and I don't know our region is part of that group or not as a superintendents, but I think the voice has been missing in Richmond. And part of it, none of our delegates, I guess, except Delegate Yost, was sitting at the Education Committee, but wasn't bringing any bills per se.
Yeah,
he
wasn't introducing anything and advocating.
So it's just a matter of, having some delegates introducing or taking some of those on their.
I mean, I guess what I'm asking is this is the same story, election cycle after election cycle. So how, is there something we can do? I'm asking this more in a general. Something that maybe we can be thinking about and kick around some ideas, but is there something that we can do or say that's concise, that gets the message across, that changes the outcome?
Yeah, well, I'll say this. A lot of this does make it to committee, but it doesn't get out of committee because the committee is stacked in a way where the controlling party doesn't allow it to get to the floor, some of these things that are in favor of public education. And so, I mean, a lot of this stuff stops in the committee.
Right.
But then a lot of it too gets to the floor that is in opposition to what's been written here.
Yeah.
And in fact, a lot of it has passed. Several of these things that we're in opposition to, they have passed. But fortunately, the governor's vetoed. And so that's been helpful. So
yeah, some of that last year, especially, was the discipline bills that were very black and white and took all the control away from the localities and how to handle discipline.
But of course,
so again, it goes back to the same thing. We need a voice on that education committee, because those are the committees that will come up with legislation to then push forward. And that's not happening.
And for the political junkies out there, of course, they will be naming new committee members in January, particularly because we have a lot of new members. But without the determining factor of who's really in charge in the House, we don't even know who's going to be setting those committee members now. So it's definitely a year still up for grabs in terms of committee positions and things like that. But that's, I mean, you're right, that's the way, is number one, to have, you know, the right people controlling the legislature, and number two, to have the right people on the specific committees, in our case, the Education Committee.
I know Senator Edwards brings forward a lot of bills on his own for education, a lot of them surrounding the SOLs. But again, you know, if they die on the floor.
Sure. Yeah, and we can talk about this offline some other time. It is my desire to see if, you know, and it's a fine line, especially when it gets very political. However, I think as a board member, it is my responsibility to educate and to kind of, you know, if things are not happening that we want to happen for public education, I think we need to start holding people accountable, whether that's individual lawmakers or entire parties, even if that's really what the problem is. So I would like to, you know, and Ms. Graham, you've obviously being our legislative rep has a little bit more experience with this, but it's just something I'd like to see what we can do to get a little bit more movement if we can.
And that's part of, you know, that's part of the reason we have the legislative conference in January. But unfortunately, by the time we go in January, a lot of the bills have already been created and are on the floor. And a lot of times the delegates already have their minds made up. So, you know, we need to work at finding a way to reach them ahead of time. And
Summertime.
And and see if we can't, which we talked a lot about at our retreat, to see if we can't, you know, work with one or two of them to see if they can introduce some of these bills that we would like to see move forward. Legislation.
Yeah, there are hundreds of educational bills that actually get introduced. Of course, the ones that and I can give you a couple updates now in terms of budgets and funding, since we're getting close to that time of year. You know, that's where we're really hurting, is the budget and funding. The SOQs do not meet the standards, and that's something that needs to be looked at. You know, a quick budget update for us. Because of what's happening at the national level, we found out when we create a budget for the year, we base it in terms of federal money on projected revenue, and we've been cut over $150,000 from title money because of the new administration in charge in Washington. $150,000 has been cut this year during the school year. And another bit of news that we got the other day, the composite index was recalculated, which is what our portion as a county is in comparison to the state. And our composite index went up, which is basically our ability to pay went up, and it equates to about $500,000. And so what basically the formula, basically what it says is, the formula is based on the county's ability to pay for education. And so what that means by our composite index increasing is that we've seen a rise in property values, business, and those types of things. So what the state's telling us is that our county has, according to the state, additional means to pay as well. And so that's $500,000 right there that if it was based on this year's budget, that we would not get from the state next year because of the increased wealth of our county. So that's a couple of things that I need to update you on in terms of that. But a lot of it, you know, it comes back to the budget and the funding it's really, really hurting us. We have, in comparison to 2010, we are still down over 50 teachers, 50 teachers compared to the number of teachers we had in 2010. and we have about 250 more students. And think of what we could do with 50 more teachers at this. I mean, we could just do amazing
That
things.
500K you're talking about, ability to pay for the county. We can talk about this more, but I'd like to bring that to the attention of the Board of Supervisors.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they're the ones that are charged with that ability to pay.
You know, as we move forward and we look at our budgets, we were just recently looking at teacher salaries, and I think in steps 0 through 4, Giles and Floyd teacher salaries are higher. 0 through 9, Rafford is higher in terms of teacher pay, and you know that's disappointing, considering the growth of this county in comparison to those localities, and we're hoping to address that in our proposed budget to you. So.
Well, and to add insult to injury, the new tax bill that's going through Congress now flies in the face of several things we have in here, such as being opposed to the legislation providing vouchers and tuition tax credits for homeschoolers in private schools. So we're up against that too. So we're kind of getting hit from all sides.
You know, an update for, there's a lot of, there's been several efforts to look at SOL testing. And there's a committee, the SOL Innovation Committee. I don't know if you've heard much about the SOL Innovation Committee. The way it was originally set up, it had community members, teachers, principals, superintendents, and lawmakers on the committee. And this is my understanding of what happened recently, is that the way it was originally set up, they were going to make recommendations and vote as a whole to send it to either the Department of Education or the House of Delegates to propose legislation. And what ended up happening was the legislators on the committee decided they would vote separately from the community members and the educators. So the community members and educators had their vote, and they voted for things that we would support. And then the legislators, which were stacked in one way, voted it down, many of the different items. And so it didn't even come out of the SOL Innovation Committee. And because they knew it would come out of the committee if they let the entire group vote. That was my understanding as I was briefed at our superintendent's committee. So yeah, that's true. So
manipulation at its best.
Well, I mean, yes. I think educators, teachers, and our administrators know what's best, and there were parents that were on that side too, and community members who wanted some of these things pushed through, and they were not. And so, so that was really disappointing to hear how that, because there was a lot of work that was done on the SOL Innovation Committee, and a couple of good things did come out of it. But a lot of it was sort of stopped in its tracks. So hopefully in the near future things will turn around for the good. So.
Any more questions regarding the priorities? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We approve our positions as presented. Next is the elementary programs.
Yes. Next, Ms. Wickham is here tonight to present an update on our elementary programs. Ms. Wickham.
Really? Oh, but look, it's been knocking on here. Okay.
Well, good evening again.
Good evening.
I'm so excited to be able to have the opportunity to speak to you about some of the good work that we're doing at the elementary level. Engagement is important for all students, and when students are engaged, they're more likely to learn. Are children from poverty more likely to struggle with engagement in school? Research tells us yes, because their minds are struggling to focus due to basic survival needs, including health and nutrition. By understanding true engagement, we can help all students learn and achieve at high levels, and we can help mitigate some of the negative effects of poverty. We've been so fortunate that Dr. Meyer had the vision to bring in John Antonetti, who teaches us the 8 engaging qualities of tasks that you can see here on the engagement cube. Reading on grade level is a key factor to student success. Yet ensuring that all students are reading on or above grade level is one of the largest challenges that economically disadvantaged schools face. Children who are not reading on grade level by the end of third grade have a difficult time catching up with their peers and oftentimes are faced with obstacles for the remainder of their school career. Failure to read proficiently by the end of third grade is associated with higher school dropout rates, which then impacts career choices and earning potential. Statistics show that for children who are poor, living in communities of concentrated poverty and not reading proficiently by the end of third grade, 35% do not graduate from high school on time. We are tackling that by working to ensure that our reading instruction follows current evidence-based best practice. For example, in addition to reading aloud stories, which we do all the time, our teachers make them interactive by including some of the engaging qualities that you see here. Maybe. Just go.
Okay, boys and girls, we are going to continue to learn about opinions today. Who can raise their hand and tell me what an opinion is? Nice and loud. Marla?
An opinion is what you think and somebody else can't tell you what you think.
Right, it's just everyone has different opinions, right? It's what you think, or Ashvin?
How you
feel about something. Do you have the same opinion as everybody else about everything? No, we have different opinions. I'm going to read a book to you today called Hey Little Ant, and in this book there are two very different opinions. I want to see if we can figure out what they are, okay? I want you to turn and talk. I'm going to give you the signal. Turn and talk to your partner, your thinking partner. Why would the boy want to squish the ant? Turn and talk on 3. 1, 2.
So what John Antonetti teaches us is that when building tasks to children, that in addition just to reading aloud, that we need to make sure that children have the opportunity to turn and talk and learn with one another and share their opinions, and that's really important to building engaging qualities in a task. To help ensure that we're reaching all of our students, we know that we must have high expectations, ensure that we have high rigor, build relationships with our students and our families, and again, make sure that our classrooms are engaging and are places where all students want to be. Several elementary schools have visited the Ron Clark Academy to see this example in action. So the question is, would you want to be a student in this school?
Actually, come the opposite way. The way I want you to do this is
Clark Academy is unlike any school in the world. It's a school that's full of passion, energy, color, and light. It's a school where we lift up our kids, we get them to feel good about themselves. There's no F's in my class. You're learning fast.
Wow, it's just like full of color and life. It's like not the same as an ordinary school. When you walk into the classrooms, they're like bursting with color and energy.
We begin together. Parentheses first, now please be clever. Exponents come right next in line.
School is the place where I actually want to be now. Before, school was like, man, I gotta go to school tomorrow. But to me, this school is like, I gotta go to school tomorrow. Yeah, I gotta go to school tomorrow. Yeah.
You can handle all this math. It's okay, just don't get trapped. It's easy.
They don't just act like they're having fun. They do have fun. They pour their whole hearts out into every single lesson.
And that's just what we want. Conjugate the active verbs.
On one hand, we want classrooms that are full of life and energy, full of music and dance and song and ways to bring learning to life. On the other hand, we do a very good job of showing how you can have discipline, manners, respect, really creating a classroom environment that is a family.
It's about academic rigor. We make it as hard as we can possibly make it because we know that with higher expectations, we get higher results. And so that's what our school's about, really getting our kids to love to learn, getting them to be a family, and getting these kids to realize that if they really push themselves, they can all be successful.
Continuing the idea of trace fossils.
From the beginning of the school year, Mr. Clark tells us, it's gonna be hard, but you're all in this together for 4 years.
A little bit different in Japan. These are not portions of a yen.
The schoolwork is very hard. In 5th grade, we learned like 8th grade math, but it's all worth it because the way they make it fun, it's like you don't even realize that it's hard anymore.
And what we've found here is that if you create the right environment, if you create an environment where you have amazing adults who love these kids, adults who are a true team and work together, then what's going to happen is every kid's going to be successful. The coolest part about our school is that not only are we affecting the lives of our students here, but we're also inviting thousands of educators from all over the country and around the world to come to our school each year, to sit in our classrooms, to interact with us, to learn about our methods and techniques here at the Academy, and then to take those ideas back with them around the world. So this school that's in a 100-year-old factory is not only affecting the lives of our students, but we are affecting the lives of hundreds of thousands of kids all over the world every year. We're showing people that education should be about passion, high expectations, and it should be about relationships. We're showing people what education should look like, and we feel like we're truly making an impact on teachers and kids all over the world.
I need a substitute.
So again, we have several teams of teachers who have visited, and these are the kinds of things that John Antonetti's also teaching our teachers. In addition, our teachers have been working to refine how they communicate their lessons' objective or goal to their students. It's much easier to hit the target when you know what it is and where you're going. Our schools are working to refine their parental involvement activities, understanding that many parents can't frequently be at school due to their jobs. Therefore, they're working to use their activities to help parents with the kinds of things they can do at home to help their children be more successful at school. So many times, our assessments, we talk about students hitting the bar. For close to past 20 years, the bar has been a passing score on an SOL test. So here, if you'd imagine, we have 3 students. That's what these bars represent from beginning of year to end of the year. As you can see, we have 2 students above the bar, and we have 1 below. Notice that the 1 student below the bar has the most growth. Yet, according to a traditional SOL test, that student would have failed. That student would show up on a state report card as a failing score. Yet again, that student showed the most growth. So one of the things that we recognize is that we need an assessment that truly measures and shows growth. In 2nd grade, we're now given an assessment called Measures of Academic Progress, or MAP. It focuses on all students because it shows growth. It compares scores to all 2nd grade students who take the test across the nation, and it gives a growth measure. You can easily see if a student had a low score but showed high growth. It gives specific skills for which to work on, whether they're skills for intervention or skills for enrichment opportunities. There are a handful of assessments that students complete in reading and math throughout the year. These assessments collectively provide a data story for a child. Teachers and principals are meeting at least once a month to review data and discuss student progress. We take time to connect with our students. Upon reviewing data, if there's a concern, these areas are connected with appropriate intervention efforts. The purpose of school is not that every child is taught, but that every child learns. We're very excited about our pilot gifted program. When Dr. Meyer shared his vision of an expanded gifted program with Dr. Graham and me last year, we began to explore existing programs to gather ideas. We knew that we wanted the program to include leadership, innovation, and STEM program components. When we met with Ms. Nath and Ms. Vangelos last spring, they ran with the ideas and they took it to new heights. Last spring, they had attended some project-based learning workshops and they started to shape the vision. It began to grow and we landed in a place that's so exciting that's going to provide expanded time and opportunities for our gifted students. We can't wait to see where it's going to go. The immersion program that we visited in Harrisonburg was absolutely incredible. Teachers spend half their day speaking only Spanish with their students. When I visit the classroom, it brought back 4 years of Spanish for me in high school, and I really was struggling to still understand. More than 50% of their population in Harrisonburg is Hispanic. Bilingual and biliterate students are better prepared for college and careers. However, this program works best when half the class is fluent in the native language, according to the principal at the high school, or at the elementary school. A full immersion program requires a bilingual teacher in each grade level, K-5, and then a program would need to be in place at the middle school as well as students move up. Teachers would need to be recruited, hired, and then trained to build the program. With a smaller population, an after-school program would be possible to begin. Computer science SOLs were released by the VDOE in November. Many of these SOLs tied directly to math, science, and English. It is our goal to have a seamless integration of computer science and coding into the core content areas, as our teachers currently are doing a fantastic job with these concepts. An example is our upcoming STEAM Day at CES, where students are working to complete a design challenge that's linked to literature. In addition, we're currently cataloging our STEAM activities across the division through the work of Julie Farley in her position with Virginia Tech. Elementary, it is where the future begins, and we plant the seeds for a strong foundation. Any questions?
So I guess the John Antonetti stuff we've been doing for several years now, and a lot of the stuff that you presented here, some of it I'd heard of, some of it I hadn't. There's a lot here. How is this going? How are the teachers doing? I mean, I know you've said that they've done a great job, and I fully expect that, knowing many of the teachers in our system, but are we adding more to their plate? Are we taking something off and putting this on instead? Walk me through a little bit of how the implementation of all of these new initiatives is going.
So currently with John Antonetti, the teachers, I would say right now, are in the first phase where they're doing their walks, they're visiting other classrooms, and really what they're doing, they're looking at learning, and that's really what his program is about. They go in and they look at learning, they talk to students, and they're visiting other classrooms. They're looking at the tasks that the students are completing, and they go in to look at the engaging qualities that you saw on that graphic, and they have discussions with other teachers about what they saw in the classroom. So that's where they are now. John's coming back in January, and what they'll do when John comes back in January, they'll plan a lesson. And when they work on that lesson, they'll work to add engaging qualities in their lesson. So that's where they are now.
Now, let me expand on that a little bit. Okay, engagement has been something that has been a part of six-year plan and the folks of the school division prior to to me coming here. I mean, it's what, about 4 years probably worth of engagement. So a lot of professional development happened with engagement over the past 4 years. And last year, and before that we worked with John Almarode, right? And then last year we started working with John Antonetti, and he actually trained the middle school teachers on his engagement walks and look to learn is what it's called. And then this year the training is focused on elementary. Next year the training will be focused on high school. And so it's not really something new. It's expanding on what we're already focused on is engagement. And something too that, you know, when I went out last year to all the faculties and the leadership teams, one thing that I kept hearing was too much PD that is not choice. And so what we've done is eliminated almost all professional development with the exception of John Antonetti in the engagement piece, and the remainder of the most of the remainder of the professional development is choice professional development by teachers. So teachers can now choose, you know, what they want to focus on. But we decided as a school division, and listening to teachers and to principals, that we want to stay on the road with engagement. That, you know, we need, that's an area we can continue to grow as a school division. But what we have this year, our curriculum department's done a wonderful job in developing several choice professional development sessions, and we can get you a list of all the things that they've created. We've purchased what's called Simple K-12, which is an online professional development piece where teachers can go at their leisure on their own. Several did them this summer, where they're online types of sessions, and then whatever teachers can dream of, whatever they think they need, they discuss it with their principals, and then, you know, if it's within the principal's budget or our budget, if it's something that costs, or maybe it's not something that costs, you know, they're moving forward with it. So we're doing a lot of choice PD. The engagement thing with Antonetti is something that we're going through together as a school division, and you know, there's no doubt that he takes us to a different level in what engagement actually looks like in a classroom. You know, that term's been thrown around a lot pretty loosely in evaluations of teachers and how we talk about it, but you know, John will say that, you know, true engagement in a great school usually only happens 20% of the time in a classroom. And, you know, a lot of folks think it's a lot more. So it's really drilling down to what it truly looks like. So basically, I guess my message is this to you folks, is that it's mostly choice PD for our teachers now, with the exception of this piece. The heavy piece is when John comes in to train the teachers. Heavy was for middle school last year. It was a little heavy for elementary this year. Elementary next year, there will be no required professional development. All they'll have to do are a walk once a month for 30 minutes in 2 or 3 classrooms in their teams, and that will be their required professional development for next year. And so,
what's the feedback been from elementary teachers that you've heard or that's come back to you on those initiatives?
So far, everything that I've heard as far as going in and visiting other classrooms, they seem to enjoy getting out and going into other classrooms, because typically that's not something that you have the opportunity to do as a teacher.
Yeah, it's good. I asked this because, you know, when I came on the board, I heard from some teachers that, you know, maybe some of the same things you heard about the PD, you know, just the desire, I guess, for the PD to really be something that they were bought into, which it sounds like some of the stuff maybe in the past, at least for some teachers, was not. So that's why I was asking. It sounds like, I mean, I'm with you on, and I think the rest of the board obviously is too, on the importance of this engagement piece.
We came on the same time.
Yeah,
so I heard the same thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why this year we said, you know, just one thing, and
Yeah.
everything else is choice.
Yeah, but the reason I'm asking is I haven't heard any feedback, which sometimes is good. Like, no news is good.
Well,
People tend to
yeah,
complain.
I
right,
think
when
it's
they're
a real
unhappy,
credit
but-
to the teachers who, after they saw John Antonetti, and then they wanted to pursue it and go to the Ron Clark Academy because they were so enthusiastic about the engagement piece, because that's traveling to Atlanta and giving up several days of time because they were so excited and they were thirsty for more engagement. So
It takes some time too. This is not something John Antonetti in his in his training. It's not something that he comes, does a presentation, then he leaves, and that's it. It's really complex in terms of what the teachers are doing now. They're doing their walks and they're gathering certain data in the types of engagement that's actually occurring in the classrooms, and it creates conversations with teachers about engagement, about what other teachers are doing. Hopefully it's making teachers more intentional about what they're doing in terms of their activities in class. What John focuses on is what the kids are doing. It's not really a lot of times what the teacher is doing.
Yeah.
It's the activity that the kids are actually doing. So it's almost, and because I've worked with John, in previous school divisions, it takes about 3 years to really understand. I've worked with John, and I've had multiple conversations with him, and I learn something every single time, and it's really eye-opening.
So let me ask you this then on that. So we're kind of in this 3-year cycle where last year was middle school, this year elementary, next year high school. What's middle school doing this year, for example?
They're doing their
in
walks.
regards to this.
They're doing what elementary will do next year.
Okay.
This year
all right.
they're doing.
So it is a full 3-year cycle for all of them.
Yeah.
There's just 1 year where John's focus is kind of more on that. Okay.
And this is not a train-the-trainer model for the most part. It's John himself doing the training. He went to every single school and did the initial walks with every single teacher in our school division.
Okay.
And it takes time because there's only one of him. I mean, I wish they could clone him because he's
I actually
amazing.
was curious, kind of had the same question, was wondering how it was going to go next year. I had a conversation with a middle school teacher on Saturday, and she was just saying how much she was enjoying it this year because she was further along and got to see how it was going to be further along in the process, how much she enjoyed it as she was going out and had the freedom to do the walks this year and working with her peers and gathering the data and just going in and having the freedom to talk to students, talk about the work they were doing in the classroom. So it was nice being in the first year of it to hear how it was going this year.
And if you would like, I could give the board a copy of the first thing, actually what high school is doing this year, because it's in a sort of 3-year cycle. High school this year has been tasked as each faculty to read his latest book, which is 17,000 Classroom Visits Can't Be Wrong, I believe. And so that's what the high school is. The only thing the high school is being asked to do in terms of professional development is to read a book. And then they're doing the rest choice PD. But they're reading it together, having discussions about it. But I'll be glad to give
So
the
the
board a
answer
copy
to
of
my
the book.
original question too, then on this is the only PD they're doing. So as far as putting more things on their plates, we're not really doing it. We're taking away the other PD. We're putting this in place of it, and that's kind of what we're doing, right?
Well, just to clarify, teachers are required, I think, by state law to do a certain amount every year, so many hours for their to
And that's what
continue.
You have to have 180
right
to have your recertification
But our goal
in
here
5
is to
years.
give them as much choice as possible in that by only having Antonetti as our required division-wide and make the rest of it choice. But that is a state requirement, federal, what is it?
Every 5 years, you have to have your 180 to be
So we don't have a
recertified.
choice in that.
That's correct.
So the heavy PD this year, for instance, for elementary, how many recertification points are we given for Antonetti training this year? It's 15. So we're requiring as a division that teachers at least do 15 a year.
Okay.
Well, that doesn't equate to 180 in 5 years.
Okay.
They need more than that. But we're saying 15. I think middle school walks this year, that's worth 10 points. And they have to figure out the other 5. The book reading is 10 points as well. And so, for teachers to be recertified after 5 years, they have to do a lot more than we're asking them to do, which I would say prior to this year, everything we were asking teachers to do, that probably filled up the 180 points pretty easy or close to it. So So we've really backed off, and
Yeah.
you know, I think professional growth for a teacher should be something that teachers and their administrators have conversations about, and it should be, you know, based on individual needs, because everyone needs something different, and that's what we're trying to go to, and that's what teachers ask for, and that's what we're giving them. So, and so far, in all the, I've been to just about every school in terms of leadership meetings. We talked about professional development. Haven't heard anything, you know, negative about, you know, the new choice PD.
Okay.
They like the choice.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's great. And I think the we did the iLead. We had a presentation last time I was at a meeting about that, so very excited about that too. And the immersion possibilities is exciting too. I don't want to get too ahead of myself.
It is, and we need to continue to have more discussions about the immersion, and the possibilities of that. You know, interesting enough, I got to talk to a principal at Frederick Douglass Elementary School in Winchester at the VACD meeting this past week, and they have now, they've done the immersion program in kindergarten, first and second grade, and the principal talked about how great it was actually going, and they've even put into place a pre-K program that's tuition-based for English-speaking students that's strictly Spanish, and the pre-K is being taught 90% in Spanish. It's really interesting. Of course, you know, their challenge there is that school is about 30% Hispanic ELL.
Yeah.
You know, that's not the case here. They have a lot of students that they can, you know, pull from. Their challenge would be like ours, is finding a teacher too. But we're still going to look at it and see what we can do, and we've even talked some about the possibilities of maybe looking at a Chinese program on this dual immersion. You know, something that I did talk to the principal about is that the DOE, and I was not aware of this, requires that not only are they foreign language endorsed, but they're also elementary endorsed. That's really hard to find, but in talking to it, we talked about some ways that you can actually go some different routes to make it happen. But yes, we're excited with the possibility too. We'll see where it goes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Do
you.
you all want a copy of that book? Anybody want a copy? I'll give you.
Oh, it's like they have books.
Okay. Yep. We'll get that for you. Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. Thank you, Ms. Wickham.
Thank you.
All right, next, Mr. Pauly. At our last meeting, Mr. Pauly shared information on how we are redesigning our course catalog. He also mentioned a few new courses that we would like to add to next year's program of studies so we can engage student interest. The 6 new courses are presented for your approval tonight. If you have any questions?
May I have a motion to approve the new course proposals as presented? And you'll see thank you for providing the additional information on each course. May I have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Now the discussion and all the questions.
I'm not sure if something changed from when I first looked at our packet, but I'm seeing a lot more detail here.
Details added.
Okay, was that added since? Okay, all right. So are these courses, are any of these online, or I see some of these are dual enrollment, but are these online courses, or are these? What's that?
They're all face-to-face.
Okay,
Face-to-face.
all right.
And again, principals who are in schools that are requesting these courses, they're doing so within their current staffing, and they'll be in the course catalog and based on the interest of the students as to if we actually offer the courses or not. So and that's with any course that's in the course catalog.
I don't know if our student reps have had a chance to look at these courses or not, if they wanted to weigh in on these courses. What's that?
They'll be gone. They don't get to take them.
Yeah.
You can weigh in
Have
for
you
your
guys
fellow
seen the
students.
courses that are being offered?
No.
They
Okay.
will, yeah.
Don't you want to take human anatomy?
World religion, human anatomy.
I didn't know about that.
But I really like the format of this new course catalog. It's so clear, so helpful.
That's honestly the more exciting part, is that
Yeah.
all of our students are going to see this now, and that you will actually be weighing demand versus availability, and hopefully adjusting the availability to meet the demand as time goes on.
How does the I was interested to see the Chinese one on this list. Is this as a high school course? I mean, I guess obviously that topic has been, we've discussed it. It's interesting, with the presentation that Ms. Wickham just gave about immersion, and it's, my first thought was, which way do you go on that? Do you go, if you had the money and the resources, do you spend it on, a course in high school, or do you try to do some kind of a immersion, the beginnings of an immersion program, or maybe it's
all
not.
the above.
Yeah.
Resources.
Well,
well, at the last board meeting, Mr. Pauly went over the results of the survey, and Chinese was last.
Yeah.
But we said, okay, let's throw it back out there, put it on the course catalog to actually see who signs up for it, and how many actually sign up for it, and so we're gonna see if it actually is something that can make or not.
Okay.
But
So these are things that weey'd like to offer, but we may not necessarily end up
they still may not offer. No, it depends on how many. We have numerous courses in the course catalog that are there that are not actual classes in the school, because not enough students actually sign up for the classes. And so.
And in this Chinese case, of course, it's also the other ones that are offered gonna be, we don't need an extra staff, but if there is enough students sign up for Chinese, then there's a Chinese teacher.
That's right. Yeah.
Comes out, and
the
that's
Chinese
the
is
extra.
one. Yeah, the Chinese one. You're right. That would be an extra staff member.
Extra
we would
staff
need.
member.
Yeah, I think it said the original packet said that. I think. Yeah.
Any other questions? And all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We approve our new courses.
Okay. Thank you. Next, capital funds appropriation letter. We're ready to request additional funding for the Christiansburg athletic improvements. The Board of Supervisors have sold the former Blacksburg High School site and the front parcel of the former middle school site. These funds were unavailable in October when the Board of Supervisors approved the initial funding for the Christiansburg improvements. We're asking to approve this letter requesting the funds that were received from the sale of the old BHS property and the front parcel of the old middle school site. And so it's requesting the additional money that we talked about at that meeting. They said that would be available in December, and so we need to go ahead and get that done and get them to approve that money to come to us as we continue to move forward with the Christiansburg project.
And when would they be doing that? When is their next meeting? Is it January?
Do we know when their next meeting is?
Katie? Do you know?
They're having a reception on the.
Having a reception,
18th.
but I
I
know
don't
that was
know.
an official business meeting as well.
I'm not sure.
So it might be January. Okay, I was just curious.
Dr. Staton, do you know? Do you know when their next meeting is for supervisors?
It's on Monday, I'm sorry.
It's
So
Monday?
that is a business meeting
Yes.
on Monday?
Okay. And so we're asking to approve this on Monday, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve the capital funds appropriation letter as presented?
So moved?
Second. Motion second. Any discussions? Any questions?
Excited to be moving forward.
I know.
Well, we've had,
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We approve it. We're moving forward.
School's excited too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really are, and things are coming together. Next, policy 5-2.6. This is something we'd like to bring to you as a first reading, and how we address our substitute teachers. And looking at the policy, first, it sort of contradicted itself. The first paragraph said you needed a bachelor's degree. The second paragraph said you needed 60 college credit hours or 90 quarter hours. And this is something that I think is hindering us from having enough substitutes. It's requiring the bachelor's degree. In fact, it's the first school division I've been in where our bachelor's degree was required to be a substitute. And to be quite honest, I'm shocked that we have enough. And actually, we don't have enough. We have several unfilled positions, as you know. You know, 2 of the divisions I've worked in required 60 hours. 1 required a high school degree, a high school diploma, and that was it. And so what we're asking is to amend it and where the 60 hours is what is needed to be a substitute teacher.
And that will come back to us in January to
Correct.
approve. So it's a first reading.
Any questions about that?
I think I may have asked this already, but the requirement to be a long-term sub in a Title I school, that is a state requirement? That's why we're having to do that part?
Right.
Is that
Is it
correct?
federal?
Or is it federal? It's federal, okay. Because it's a title, because it's title money, okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm assuming, Dr. Meyer, that the threshold of 60 will help to solve the problem that we have. I mean, we could go all the way down. I'm not advocating that. I kind of like that. I kind of like where we're at here, especially for you know, for elementary. But
Yeah, 60 will really help us. To be quite honest with you, we probably will get a lot of students from Virginia Tech, possibly even help us out.
Okay.
You know, on their days that they don't have classes and that type of thing. I mean, we're going to have access to a lot of folks to help us. Be, you know,
I mean, 60 hours is about 2 years, if I
It's
did
2 years.
Yeah.
correct,
Yeah.
right? So.
And then we put in here
Most
too.
students.
For
most students, yes.
To be in a middle
Unless they're on the
school-
5-year plan.
Right. We'll have high school students who graduate with 60, hopefully in a couple of years too. And in fact, I was used to, when I was a high school principal, we had students come back and substitute for us. Now, what we put in here is you have to be 21 to be in a middle or high school.
Makes
But,
sense.
you know, it's very likely that a freshman in college who's had a lot of dual enrollment credits can come back and be a substitute in an elementary school, you know? And so I think it's going to help us get these unfilled positions filled for our substitutes.
Any other questions? And we are moving on. Our unfinished business. Are there any matters of unfinished business, board members? If not, I am moving on. New business. Any matters of new business? Moving on to announcements and information. I think I did some of the announcements earlier, and
I actually forgot one I probably should
Sure.
have done in my board report, which was to
Yes.
announce that I was reelected as vice chair of the Blue Ridge region for the Virginia School Board Association.
thank you and congratulations for that. Any other information or announcements anybody like to share?
I don't know if anything was said at the last meeting, but congratulations to Dana Parton on her election win. We look forward to seeing her up here on the dais with us in January.
And the congratulations to Ms. Bond and myself, all right?
Well,
Yeah, you were
I suppose.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Congratulations
Just
to you
for
guys
fun.
too. Look forward to working with all of you.
Since she was running unopposed
Yeah.
in my district, and actually, I voted
She
for
got
you.
appreciate
You
it.
weren't one of
Every
those, right?
vote counts. You know.
That's right.
Next one is our agenda preparation and upcoming school board meetings. And you see that, well, I can't see since mine is frozen. December 11th, we have the board member orientation. If you have time to be able to stop by, that will be great. I know Mr. Chabaka, you'll be able
I
to
think
come.
I'm going to try to make it. Yeah.
And Mr. Raggett will be able to come also. And the next meeting of the new year will be January 9th, and then we have the January 16th, one after another. But If there is no more question regarding that, we are going into the closed session. May I have a motion to go into closed session to discuss 3 student matters, 2 personnel matters, and 1 legal matter, as authorized by Section 2.2-3711 of Code of Virginia.
So moved.
Second.
If all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we are in closed session.